Hey, welcome to the Thursday edition, episode number, oh my God, we're at 15 of the Danny and Paul show. As you can see, Danny's grown a beard, gotten some glasses, and some gray hair.
I'm the ugly version.
So, we've got Tracy Currington back, which is awesome because if I remember, you didn't get to finish your statement last time
I
because you
left
forgot.
everybody on a cliffhanger, and I loved the social that came out after the show, the social media that came out after the show.
Oh,
You and
oh, oh,
Danny, when I froze up and then gone, and you're like, he left us hanging. Oh, it's hilarious. I'm so sorry, and to all your audience, I'm so sorry for have done that to you.
No, it was great. It was good. We got to do kind of uh, auditory charades. We were trying to guess what you were saying afterwards, and it was kind of cool stuff. So anyway, Tracy has graciously um, helping us out by filling in today because Danny couldn't be here, and the show must go on. So I texted Tracy about 3 minutes ago and said, "You need to get a phone." Kidding, I did it this morning. Um, so Tracy, to make it worse, what today's topic is dealing with the generational gap in the workplace, and I don't know if you know, but we're it's like the first time that there's actually been four generations in the workplace at the same time because we got the baby boomers are still out there working, Gen X is out there, we got the millennials out there, and we got the Gen Zers, and
Mm,
they're completely different mindsets all the way across. I mean,
yeah,
the baby boomers were go out and work for a check, get the check. Gen Zers, or excuse me, Gen Xers, we're kind of like very variable. We don't need a lot. We just kind of get along. That's me and you, right?
yeah.
And then the millennials, they need not they need more than just a paycheck. They need to know that the company means something.
Mhm.
That it's going somewhere. It's socially going somewhere. And then the last gen is the pandemic gen, right? They're used to working at home. They got into the workforce in the jump of the pandemic, where all the companies just shifted to working at home, and then now things are changing back a little bit for some companies. So the big question is, and I don't know the answer to this. Um, and maybe you do because you work in an industry or support an industry that really does deal with all four in the same room at the same time, serving out.
Mhm.
How do you work with all these different needs?
And so I loved how you present that as far as like the needs, because they are, and I'm not convinced that there's like, oh, this generation is just so soft. There's some things about the generation that are very interesting and very helpful. Then there's other things that are, maybe a little bit more, maybe there's an entitlement, there's something like that. What I found, and I think I may qualify the experience that I have with just saying this: there were at one time six Curringtons working in the same quick service Chick-fil-A restaurant at one time. So,
Okay, we've gone from macro terms to super micro terms
so
here. Please, please share.
okay, so here we had my dad. My dad's 1955. So he's born in 1955. He was serving in the Chick-fil-A. My wife and I serving in the Chick-fil-A. My oldest sons and two daughters serving in the Chick-fil-A. So we've all at different times been in this, but you're right. There is a different feel and there's a different desire on each one of them. One's just a paycheck, one's purpose, one they're seeking for something, and all of these in the same field. Um, the only thing I think the biggest discovery that I found is that like my dad he was from his generation, He just stick it out, stick it out, stick it out, stick it out. And then like, then there's another generation, maybe our generation and the next generation. What'd you say? The Gen X, not Gen X,
Gen Z.
Z. Yeah. So the Gen Zs, like, I don't get paid enough for this crap. Right. And so like they want to move forward because like, hey, you don't treat me that way. I'm moving on. And then, like you said, there's others that like, there's no meaning, there's no impact that I find in this one. So the one little twist that I had a story on that was when people would come through at Chick-fil-A, they would come through and business cards would be handed out. So like so we got the millennials are out there taking orders. They're the ones on the iPad. The ones that are kind of steering the ship, they're leading the kitchen, they're leading the front, the drive-through, because that's where the Chick-fil-A's engine is, the kitchen and the drive-through. But so it kind of became a game where at the end, the millennials would come into like me and I'd say, hey, how many did you get today? And they'd say, I got 3 today. I was like, well, hey, any good business cards? And so they would show, oh, no, I'm not interested. I don't know if there was or not. Like I love what I do right here. They could have had huge opportunity come through the drive-thru and they're like, hey, if ever you want something better, you want to move into something better, give me a call, right? They could have had a huge opportunity, but because they felt fulfilled in the job that they had, they weren't interested.
And what do you get from that? So you're the manager of this Chick-fil-A with 5 Curringtons.
Yeah.
Daddy Currington's managing everybody else. No. But you're in there with, all 4 generations. How do you manage to that in your industry? How do you manage to it?
That is difficult. And really, until I saw the title of it, being confronted with it, I think I just value people first. I mean, so John Maxwell has a statement. He says that I am a person of value who values people and seeks to add value to others. And so like, that's kind of one of his big mantras. And I think what I captured on that, just I lead with people first. So like on the DISC assessment, I'm an SC. And so I love supporting D's and I's. Now I can work with C's because I think like that, like the processing and stuff like that. I'm more supportive and loyal, peace and harmony, dude. That's kind of like where I'm at. And that's why like a D can't understand, doesn't have the patience for what I do. So I had a D-minded, my leaders were D-minded people. So they were D-minded people that like results. That's what they want. That's their love language. Mine is peace and harmony. And I'm leading some of them were peace and harmony people, and some of them were just the I's, let's have fun. And so trying to lead, I don't know that I think the playbook is for me was just, I was just valuing people, trying to value people and learning what they need. I think my wife right now, she leads the millennial group. So she's headed out to Chick-fil-A right now as we're having this meeting, and she loves working in the night crew, because it consists primarily of the young people. She said this, she said, the young people, they're going to do what young people do. I expect them to do that. They're going to sometimes mess around. Sometimes there's a boyfriend, girlfriend kind of situation, a little love thing going on at the thing. And sometimes they're going to goof off at the end of the night when they're closing down. We're going to crank up the music. We're going to have a good time, that kind of thing. She said, but the times that I've led in the morning, you can keep it because they are the biggest babies there ever was. And in the morning time is more of the adults. And I'm not, I don't know. I think it's more of the Gen Z generation that should be leading in the morning. Now, what do you take from that? I don't know. I think it's a great question. And I was quite beside myself when you shared it with me, like, man, this is going to be a great one. This is going to force me to think really, really deep about how do you lead in the, what are your initial thoughts on it? I mean, like putting it out there on the baby boomers. I came into the industry I was 19 and I was leading those in the older section of my generation. So I was 19 leading those that were like 40. I'm like, what does a 19-year-old know about a 40-year-old man who has a wife and 3 kids and he needs this schedule for his, I'm like, what does he know about that? and yet I rose into those ranks. And so I don't think that I have a significant giftedness outside of just valuing people. So that was my first experience with leadership
At 19,
at
which is
19.
fabulous.
And it's just, and it was just, so it was a 4-star restaurant in Cincinnati, Ohio called El Coyote. And I was the steak cook. We would cut up on bandsaws, and I would cut up the short loins or the strip loins, and the fillets. We had halibut. I mean, like the whole works. And I was the one cooking the steaks and trying to lead the shift. I mean, so here's a steakhouse. Guess where they're going to hammer? They're going to put the hammer down on the steak guy. And I'm trying to lead
I'm
it.
mistaken.
19, lead these other guys. And who knows what they were doing, out back and stuff like that. I mean, like I got an education. I got an education on that from that generation of, basically, the 1976, they were like in their 20s. And here I was, just a young man at that time. But I think for me, I tried to listen to him. I tried to understand, these 2 days off in a row. Why do you need these 2 days off in a row? Hey, that's when I get paid, and I like to hang out with my family and keep my marriage together. Okay, that sounded good enough for me. So I tried to value them in that way, and I think that's different from the other. I have had a boss before that did not think that way. I don't care. I mean, like, I did not know that, like, we call it the terrible three in the quick service industry: vomiting, diarrhea, or fever. You cannot come in. This is food service where I'm like, diarrhea, that's the terrible three. So, like, when I'd have at Chick-fil-A, I'd have, a lady would call in. She's like, Tracy, I have one of the terrible three. And I said, say no more. I get it. Okay, you're off. I had no idea you could miss work for diarrhea. I had no idea. I had no idea that, fever, you're supposed to muscle through, because that was the generation that was my leaders were coming out. This is like, come on, get out there. You better be thankful that you just have a job, that kind of thing.
Yeah. There's actually a soundtrack. It's oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is totally bizarre. Do you remember the Lord of the Rings cartoon? Did you ever see the Lord of the Rings cartoon?
I know it was after my time, but it's before my time. No, I never saw
it. Yeah. So this is old. And so, like, it was my first indoctrination of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And they had the goblins and everything have that in the back, that whoosh, we don't want to go to work today, but the Lord of the Lash says, nay, nay, nay. So, like, that was kind of like one of our mantras back in those days.
Yeah, mine was the Sleeping Beauty archetype. The trolls. Oh, we off to
yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, and I love that you use Chick-fil-A. So, what's Chick-fil-A's vision, mission?
Yeah, I love their whole mission is, their mission statement is to have a positive impact on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A.
Great. So,
nothing to do with chicken, right?
Not a dang thing to do with the cluckers. So it's
right.
It's interesting. A couple of the companies, Chick-fil-A being one of them, Starbucks being another, have very strong mission, vision, and values. And it's not just a statement, right? It's a it is something they live by as they operate. And I'll take it to another level. I call it the least common denominator, right? It that transcends the generational gaps within your organization. And Chick-fil-A does a really good job of this. So does Starbucks, and so does quite a few other companies. So it allows them to wrap around the mission, vision, and values, and actually those optics. And it provides a least common denominator to manage the entire crew, because even the OEO guy who's 72 can buy into the mission and vision, right? But he works for the paycheck. He has this imaginary whip behind him going, because he's bought into the mission, and that goes all the way down to the Gen Zer or the millennial who needs a greater, grander thing to work for than just a paycheck. And that's what that
Hmm.
does. So it provides a least common denominator to get buy in for the company. I think that's really important as we talk about, you know, we're talking about larger organizations right now. We're talking about
Hmm. Yeah.
Chick-fil-A. We're talking about that. But let's bring it down to, your local fast food restaurant.
Hmm.
Charlie's down the street. He's got a drive-in restaurant. He's got.
Yeah.
Um, I will bring it back. So you don't know this about me, but
Okay.
I'm gonna share. I was a I started off at the Elks Club in Sault Ste. Marie as a busboy. And
Oh,
I
okay.
was I was bussing tables, and I was a really good worker because my old man was, like in on me. So this lady's sitting there, and her name it's her name that throws it. Her name was Gypsy Barbados. Can I say that again? Gypsy
Oh my goodness.
Barbados. Yeah,
Why are all the cool names taken?
I don't know, man. I mean, I didn't believe it was her name when I first met her, but so she ran a place called the West Pier Drive-In in Sault Ste. Marie, which, by the way, is still open today. Um,
Wow.
and she was in her late 60s, early 70s when she hired me, and it was very interesting because I think about, and this is where I get so passionate about mission, vision, and values. And when she hired me, she sat me down for the first day and we talked, and you're going to be working as a car hop at first because you're not
Hmm.
a cook yet. We're going to teach you to be a cook
Yeah.
and all that good stuff. And she hired me at 14. But she said, what I'm here to do is the kids that I get in here, I want to teach them how to be successful. I want to teach them how to run a
Mm.
business. I want to teach them how to take money. I want to teach them to cook. And I want you to leave here knowing how to operate in the real world. That was her mission. That was her vision.
Wow.
Okay. And I will tell you that almost every kid that worked to own their own business and they went on to
Mm.
do their own thing. In fact, one of the cooks that worked with me down there now owns the West Pier Drive-In. Okay,
Yeah.
and or
Wow.
so she way back before we were ever even thinking about this stuff, right? Really
Hmm.
articulating it. She had a very clear vision, a very clear
Hmm.
mission, and by the way, she had a set of values that she held us to, and
Wow.
that ran well.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Wow.
so
It makes me wonder, like when you were saying that, it made me wonder about if we don't get a choice on our environment usually. I mean, like we're born into this world, into the family we're born in. Not all of us get, a last name like Routhier, and we
if
have
you
this
tip
great
right,
generation.
you can get anything you want. You know.
Yeah. So we have so so the generations in your environment, you don't get that. And sometimes even the education up to a point, after high school, you get an opportunity to share like where you're going to go to college or whatever. So but your experiences are exclusively yours. And when I was a kid, my dad had a statement. He heard a statement that said, um, "Don't work too hard." Now, you've heard that,
Oh yeah.
right? Don't work too hard. Don't work too hard. And he said, "Son, don't you ever subscribe to that nonsense. Don't work too hard." He said, "You go out there and work. You go out there and work hard." He said, because when somebody says, "Don't go out there and work too hard," and if you buy into that, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
So that's a recipe. I'm like, you imagine if you actually followed that advice.
Well,
I clocked in.
did he work
Hey,
in
my dad said I'm
Detroit?
not.
Did he work for the car companies? Is that
Huh?
did he work for the car
Yeah.
companies in Detroit?
Right, exactly. Going out and like you smoke 3 packs a day, and all you do is stand on the corner, and you never make any calls or anything. No, he didn't do that. But he was in the ministry for 33 years at the same church. But I was just thinking about that generational gap, and I was just wondering what your thoughts are on if we don't get any choice about the environment we're born into. That's why we all have that story. We the education. We have, less to do with that in the early formative years and more to do it as we grow and invest in ourselves. But then what about the experiences that we have in life? The experiences that we have in life, and it's been my experience that maybe have led me to be able to adapt to different generations versus just maybe had an open-minded teacher, an open-minded, like, no, that's what they're saying today, but don't be that way. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is it possible to I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, to trans, I'm trying to think of the word, to not be trapped in one generation at all?
Yeah, well, I think for me, who's the only person I can speak about in this situation, um, I never forgot
Transcend is what I was thinking of.
transcend. Yeah,
Transcend.
transcend generation.
Transcend generations.
You know, I'm still a kid at heart, even though I don't look it. But I still remember what I felt like back then. I see kids running around. I don't forget because I had, you know, a variable childhood. I did a lot of things, and I caused a lot of trouble as a kid. And I got myself in trouble, and I got myself out of trouble, just like every other kid does. If I could offer anything, it is when I was really young, I didn't recognize opportunity
Mm.
because
Mm.
there are like Gypsy Barbados. That's like the greatest story. Maybe I did recognize opportunity. Let me rephrase that because I did. Um, she was a scary woman. I mean, she's kind of scared the shit out of you, right? And but she leaned over me that day, and I didn't know who she was, and she
Mm.
said, "I own the restaurant down the road. Do you think you might want to work for me?" Now I've been at the Elks for 2 years and making
Mhm.
decent money. The waitresses are tipping me pretty good for cleaning up their stuff and washing dishes and all that stuff. But I kind of looked at her and I'm like, yeah, I need something different. Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's roll.
Yeah.
And and just me saying yes, right, changed the trajectory of my life because
Mhm.
I could have stayed there and bus tables till I was 18 and did whatever. But I ended up going from there to being an assistant chef at a gourmet restaurant in Detroit.
Mm.
So it's like if I wouldn't have that 2 3 years of short order cooking, I wouldn't have ended up with a resume to attract myself to the chef at Mountain Jackson, Detroit, and then I wouldn't have had the 3 months of outperforming that he said, "Dude, I'm going to teach you everything I know because you've
Mhm.
got the magic. I just need to." So I classically trained on all the sauces and how to mix together and be a chef. And my poor wife has to endure this to today. And she, she doesn't like to go out and eat. She'd rather I cook at home because I can take an
Uh-huh.
empty cabinet and make it into a full
Does
course.
she feel the judgment if she's cooking for you?
Or she won't cook. That's the
Okay.
thing on that one.
Okay.
She's like, that's your game. Um, but the point being is we have to be able to recognize opportunity and create it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then to back that up, really not forgetting where you came from. Because
Mhm.
if these people didn't reach down to pull you up, then
Yeah.
you wouldn't be where you're at. So don't forget to reach down yourself and give someone
Mhm.
else a hand up. The reasons
Yeah.
I like coaching
So,
so much because I coached, baseball, I coached football, I coached downhill skiing, and to me that was a little bit of gypsy on my back.
mhm.
That sounds like a song. We may have to come up with something.
Yeah.
A little
Uh-huh.
gypsy on my back, reminding me what she did for me, and I've never forgotten that.
Your story is a Gypsy Barbados. Mine's a Tom McClanahan. He's passed away now. Man, that guy, you're talking about generational gap. That guy was sitting at the bar. He was the owner of the restaurant, the El Coyote that I worked at, and I loved him, and he loved me, and I have great fond memories of him. And until you mentioned that, I thought the connection in my life today. I mean, like, he's always had a soft place in my heart, but he was a hard man. And I mean, he would come out after a couple of whiskeys and stuff like that, and come out like red face, like that, the red face drunk, right? So he'd come in like into the kitchen. I'm busting suds. I'm new, and he'd come in like just a sling of curse words I ain't never heard before. Sling them through and like, get this fruit out, and like just hold this whole thing. But he loved me and he cared for me. And one night when I was working, he said, Tracer Doodle. He called me Tracer Doodle. He said, Tracer Doodle, what are you doing? I said, well, boss, I'm finishing out the leading the team tonight. I came in on my day off and I'm getting ready to finish this party. And then I guess I'll do this, that. He's like, no, they got let them, cock or whatever. He had some nasty words that he'd say, but he said, let them do that themselves. You come over here. I need you. So I crossed. I was in Kentucky at the time at the store he had there. And I came across the river back into Cincinnati. And as soon as I got there, he come staggering out of the restaurant, got into his truck, and said, follow me. And I was like, oh crap, man, he's going to have more work for me to do. I got my wife, my new baby. I had my oldest son was like 1. And he's like, okay, yes, boss. So I followed him. This is on a Sunday, right? Everything's shut down. It's like 6:00 at night. Sidewalks get pulled in at 5 on Sundays. And so we pull into a Lazy Boy recliner store. And I was like, man, he's lost. He doesn't know what he's doing. We're turning around. What are we doing? And this is before cell phones. Couldn't call my wife, let her know it's going to be later than I thought and everything. And she's pregnant with our second. And so pull in there. He gets out, shuts his door. Come on. And like, yes, boss. I walk in there and he had them stay open. They closed at 5. It's 6:00, a little after 6. He had them stay open, and there were 3 sales guys in different departments of the store just standing there with their hands in front of their themselves at attention, and all in different sections of the thing. And then the store manager was still there, and they were all waiting for me. And so when I came in there, he said, all right, Tracer Doodle, need you to go pick out a recliner. I don't care which one. Pick out a recliner. You need a recliner. Any man that's going to have 2 kids, and here he's only 19 or 20, I think it was 20 years old. You only have 20, 21 years old. You need to have a recliner for them kids you're going to be rocking to sleep. I was like, I'd never had anybody do anything like that to me at all. And I'm like, boss, I don't know what to pick out. So I went to the clearance section. What? You don't want to go like that guy's laughing at you right now. He knows you're a joke and everything. No, why you come over here? Where's the premiere? So we went over to the premiere section, and he's like, look at this one, Tracer. Get on it. Get your ass in there really good. I'm like this. Just that's the way he talked, and like that's the generation that he lived. It was acceptable in his era, and so. Sat there. I was like, well, I love it, boss. I mean, it's super comfortable. He's like, all right, we want to take that one. And he just plunked down the hundreds. Pow, 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 pow. Paid for it. What do we need for Scotch Guard? Okay, yeah, pow, pow. So he puts us on a delivery, and he does all this stuff for me. They deliver that recliner. I still have that recliner to this day.
Yes. That's an awesome story. However,
and that
I would say that is not the most motivational gift to give to your employee.
Right. Yes. Right. Yeah. A recliner. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, nowadays, I'm like, but like, as far when the day come that I had to leave, and I knew I had to, there was a lot of drug and alcohol relationships that, that's the industry, right? The industry in the food service, there's a lot of drug and alcohol stuff. And I'm trying to raise a family, and I'm trying to grow up.
Yep.
And I just knew, and I had that conversation. I said, boss, I'm sorry, but I have to move forward. And he had just paid for my vacation.
Wow.
He'd do things like, Tracer, give me a handshake, palm in a C note, he called it. He's got a $100 bill in his palm, and Tracer Doodle, keep it to yourself. That kind of stuff. He just treated me like a son. And so like that relationship that I had with that generation,
mm-hmm.
it carries forward where my favorite people are probably older than I am.
Yep.
And I was thinking about when you were talking, I was thinking you like, and probably for the viewer, I know this viewer, Mr. or Mrs. Viewer, or whoever you are watching this, I had no idea like what this content was going to be on this one. I only knew about the title when I got on the program today, and I was like, okay, this is a deep one. And I was wondering, if Paul, I hope Paul's got the steering of the ship, because we're going down, Captain. And so, but what we've discussed is, and I wrote it down, I didn't recognize opportunity, and don't forget your roots is one thing that I gleaned from you. But I was thinking about this in navigating through the relationships of in the workplace through the generations.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've done is I've surrounded myself with people that are 10, 20, and 30 years older than I am, and those that are 10, 20, 30 years younger than I am. And I was thinking about our mentor. He's 20 years, Grant Cardone, 20 years older than me, 10 years older than you, but he can still connect to a boy, I don't know, 15. I'm like, I've seen his interactions with with kids on, they have the charity thing where they work for kids and help them, give them financial, not financial peace. That's Dave Ramsey. But when I see him interact and exchange with them, I'm thinking,
yep,
it's just like, that's pretty phenomenal. And like when I went to GrowthCon this last, I mean, here he is. He's up there with T-Pain. I mean, there's some people that are in their 60s and their late 60s. They're not hanging out with T-Pain.
yep.
They I mean, when they think that like T-Pain, they want some Ben Gay to rub on it, right? I mean, it's T-Pain. Oh, it must be thigh pain. I need some Ben Gay to rub on that, some deep heating rub, because I've got some T-Pain. But not him. And I think the only way they do that is to span the generational gap, to be around those that are younger and consider what their challenges are. Be around those that are older and understand that. I think probably it's just understanding and learning how to adapt to different people.
And I would also add, look at Grant Cardone's vision, mission, and it all fits to bring it full circle,
Mm-hmm.
right? The way he runs his company and the way he does his things, it's all wrapped around his vision and mission. And that, if you look at his organization, it's all the way from him all the way down to, I'll tell this story some other thing, but a person who closed me on a relatively large sum of money was only 17 years old, working with an intern for his organization. So to your point, he does transcend. And the reason he does is because of his mission, vision, and his values. And
that's so good, Paul.
To all of them. So, so I think that's the big takeaway today, right?
I think that's a great takeaway. What a great way to,
as a business owner, being clear on your vision, being clear on your mission, being clear on your values, and making sure that you're using that set of glasses, those optics, to look at who you hire, who you partner with, even your customers, because that's what's going to transcend that. And if you're bringing people in from any age group that align with your mission, vision, and values, you'll be able to manage and transcend that age difficulty in your organization.
Yeah. Like-minded, like-valued people.
Age doesn't matter.
Age doesn't matter. Yep. Took the words right out of my mouth. That's beautiful. I love it.
All right. Well, we are out of time. This was awesome, Tracy. Thank you so much for jumping.
Oh, the pleasure was mine. Thank you for bringing such a depth of topic like that. I mean, so challenging, because those are the challenges. That's the reality. And I think the audience got to see, well, at least from my side, a little, this is how you brainstorm. And one thing I want to leave your audience with is, if you don't have people like Dani and Paul in your life, and you're not following their show on the regular, you need to have people like that, because they help you to dig deep and do more, right? I mean, they help. I mean, like I mean, you made me better on this show by connecting that. I mean, like the value that I got from just now, from your experience, from your wisdom, putting like-minded, like-valued people together. Age doesn't matter. We're going to be able to offer something to each other that, like a 17-year-old offered you.
Yep. Absolutely.
That without that person in your life, regardless of their age, that would be. I think probably people are missing out on some pretty cool relationships if they only think they can play ball and invite people to their sandbox that are of their age.
I absolutely agree. Tracy, again, thank you so much. Been an awesome show. I'm going to have you back like 1,000 more times.
Oh,
So
I'm down.
we still need to get you to finish your last show. Uh,
Incidentally, vision, mission, vision, and values. That's where I was going.
oh, we closed.
I absolutely was.
See, that's,
The only one I was going to add was I was going to add purpose.
now I'm from Michigan. I live in the state that's in between is called Wisconsin, and they would say this. That was a twofer.
Love it.
All right.
Love it.
Great. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you at same time, same channel next Thursday. And have a great
Awesome.
week. Go help somebody.